Let's dive right into this explainer. We're going to unpack the wild economic and cultural shifts that led to the boom, the bust, and, well, the ongoing rebirth of the American shopping mall. For decades, these massive, sprawling complexes were literally the center of gravity for suburban life. I mean, understanding what happened to them, it's absolutely crucial to understanding how we live today. And it's a pretty startling reality to confront, right? Think about it. Hundreds of massive shopping malls across America, these colossal monuments to retail that used to generate billions in revenue, employ thousands of people, and anchor entire communities, are, right now, sitting completely empty. We're talking about millions of square feet of prime real estate just slowly decaying. So, how exactly did these bustling, incredibly busy economic engines transform into quiet, eerie ghost towns? Well, if you were a teenager in the 1990s, you can probably almost feel the physical energy of these spaces at their peak. Picture the neon lights, that overwhelming smell of the food court, the echo of the indoor fountains, and just the sheer volume of people gathering on a Friday night. It was pure, relatable nostalgia. But today, the reality for so many of these spaces is shattered glass, empty concourses, and this haunting silence where commerce used to just thrive. The contrast is jarring. But hey, this isn't just a story about a few failing stores or, bad management. It's actually the story of a massive paradigm shift in American culture, technology, and economics. Section 1, the Golden Age. Let's take a look at how these massive structures came to completely dominate the American landscape. Back in the 1970s, malls were introduced as these incredible, climate-controlled utopias. They were designed to be a safe, totally predictable environment that brought sprawling, newly built suburban communities together under one massive roof. Suddenly, you didn't have to brave the snow or the rain to go from the shoe store to the department store. And by the 1980s, developers realized they had struck gold. I mean, they literally couldn't build them fast enough, leading to this frantic nationwide expansion. Picture the rise of big hair, big shoulder pads, and massive anchor stores. Then, by the time we hit the 1990s, we had reached peak mall culture. It wasn't just a place to buy a pair of jeans anymore, right? It was the absolute center of teenage life and family weekends. You went there for the warm smell of Auntie Anne's pretzels, you hit up the arcade, but most importantly, you went to see and be seen. Section 2, Why the Malls Died. So, how does such a powerful cultural force collapse so suddenly? See, the quote-unquote retail apocalypse wasn't triggered by just one enemy. It was a compounding disaster. Traditional malls were suddenly fighting a multi-front war. Now, the massive blow, naturally, was the rise of Amazon and online shopping, which represents roughly 40% of the threat. The infinite convenience of just clicking a button from your couch, yeah, that was pretty hard to beat. But there was actually so much more happening under the surface. We had changing consumer habits driving 25% of the shift, and then those skyrocketing high operating costs at 20%. Because let's be real, air conditioning 2 million square feet of indoor space with massive vaulted ceilings is unbelievably expensive. And finally, the sudden, brutal impact of COVID-19 lockdowns hit at 15%. The whole foundation of the mall business model was basically crumbling from every conceivable side. And that changing consumer habit we just talked about, it's largely driven by a massive generational divide. Older demographics often still hold on to the nostalgia and, the convenience of the traditional indoor shopping mall, but younger generations have fundamentally rejected it. They overwhelmingly prefer either open-air, walkable outdoor lifestyle centers that feel a bit more like authentic city streets, or simply just buying absolutely everything online. The enclosed, somewhat artificial indoor format with its windowless corridors and harsh fluorescent lighting, well, it simply stopped resonating with a new wave of shoppers who crave authentic integrated experiences or just total digital efficiency. And once those shoppers leave, a totally devastating chain reaction begins. It's a literal domino effect. Online shopping siphons off the regular foot traffic. Without that heavy daily traffic, the massive anchor department stores, the heavy hitters like Sears, Macy's, and JCPenney that historically drew the crowds and subsidized the rent for the entire building, they are forced to close. And once they board up, this fatal flaw in mall leasing kicks in. Many smaller, specialized boutiques have what are called co-tenancy clauses, meaning if the big anchor store leaves, the smaller stores can break their leases or demand cheaper rent. Actually, scratch that. It's more like they just instantly pack up and leave. Those smaller stores are suddenly left stranded with high operating costs they simply can't sustain. Throw in the pandemic lockdowns, and the chain reaction of failure is complete, leaving behind a massive empty shell. Section 3, Life After the Apocalypse. This leaves behind a massive real estate problem, but developers are getting pretty creative. Because these structures are so massive, centrally located, and sit on prime real estate with incredible highway access and heavy-duty plumbing, cities can't just let them rot, right? So they're being gutted and completely resurrected in ways you might not expect. Storefronts are becoming modern residential apartments. Empty department stores are transforming into state-of-the-art hospitals, medical suites, and even community schools. And in a beautifully ironic twist, some are even being turned into massive logistics warehouses for the exact same e-commerce companies that put them out of business in the first place. Add in apocalyptic film locations and high-tech data centers that require massive electrical grids, and you quickly realize the physical footprint of the mall is far from dead. It's honestly just changing careers. Section 4, Reinventing the Future. Let's look at whether traditional malls can actually survive and make a comeback today. So, the crucial point here is that for the physical retail centers that haven't closed, survival requires a total, foundational reinvention away from pure retail. To stay alive today, they have to execute a completely new playbook. First, they absolutely must add interactive entertainment and experiential attractions. Think elaborate escape rooms, sprawling indoor trampoline parks, and high-end arcades that you simply cannot experience on a smartphone screen. Second, it's all about elevated dining experiences. We're talking about destination restaurants, craft breweries, and global food halls, not just grabbing a quick slice of pizza at the food court. And finally, creating mixed-use developments. By blending retail with co-working office spaces, luxury apartments, and green parks, the modern mall is desperately trying to evolve from a place you just go to buy things into a living, breathing neighborhood where you can live, work, and play all in one spot. Ultimately, America's abandoned malls are so much more than just empty buildings. They really tell the story of how technology and changing lifestyles transformed the way people shop forever. These physical structures are the direct reflection of our incredible technological and cultural evolution over the last several decades. They show us exactly how we went from seeking centralized convenience out in the suburbs to demanding on-demand, instant digital gratification right from our pockets. Which brings us to a final thought. What will the next evolution of physical retail look like? If the enclosed mall was our past and the digital screen is our present, how will we choose to gather, connect, and shop in the future? Thanks for joining me for this explainer. I'll leave you to ponder exactly what that future holds.